Before I begin, if you follow my YouTube channel, then you've noticed inconsistencies with the uploads over the last couple of months. This is due to personal and financial issues. Hopefully they will be resolved in the near future. If not, then I'll probably only release about 3 to 4 more videos by the end of this year. Now on with the show. Earlier this year, I decided to do something different for Friday the 13th. Other content creators would review one of the films. I instead want to review the TV series and for Yucks, the film Saturday the 14th. Due to a time crunch, I could only put out one out, and the one I went with was Saturday the 14th. How'd that go? Well, yeah, that's what I get for trying to be clever. The Friday the 13th TV series is very loosely based on the film series of the same name, and by that I mean not at all. While the TV series didn't have any canonical ties to the films, it did have a link to it behind the scenes with the film series producer Frank Mancuso Jr. also producing the TV series. Brief side note, one of the TV's main cast members, John D. LeMay, did star in Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday. The TV series was originally going to be called The 13th Hour, but was changed to Friday the 13th in order to draw in a larger audience. The show was about a deceased antique shop owner, Louis Vendretti, making a deal with the devil to sell cursed items. In return, Louis gets money, power, immortality, and so on. Of course, he winds up breaking the deal, and the devil claims his soul. Shortly after this, his niece, Mickey Foster, inherits the shop with her cousin Ryan in tow, and they wind up selling a good number of the cursed items. Then one day, one of Uncle Louis's old friends, Jack Marshak, stops by to tell them that these antiques are cursed and they have to give them all back. The three of them team up and wackiness ensues for 3 seasons and 72 episodes. For years I only had a vague memory of this series. I remember watching this show sporadically over the years in syndication and various TV channels. For some reason I think this used to be on the Sci-Fi Network. There was one episode that I did very vividly remember though. Mesmers, Bauble, Season 2, Episode 20. It starred the 1980s singer Vanity. I was a fan of a couple of her songs and enjoyed 2 of her films that she appeared in, The Last Dragon and Action Jackson. So I imagine that's why I still remember this episode. Kinda. This episode also hits on a subject that's pretty relevant today, toxic fandoms. So was the show subtle on attacking this topic, or was it very ham-fisted? Let's find out. The episode begins with Vanny as the singer Angelica performing a song in a video, and we see around a room filled to the brim with memorabilia of her and a creepy guy in the dark dabbling himself. He then proceeds to get romantic with a poster of her and then cry in the corner. Okay. So it looks like the plot is going to be of a lonely fan going after his idea of his idol. The lonely man is named Howard, and we next see him working at a record store. His boss tells him one of Angelica's reps will pop on by the store. Before that happens, he tries to help out a couple of female record buyers who treat him like the plague. This is an important scene because here he comes off as a good guy who's competent at his job. The audience watching this would have been put off from him after the opening scene, but after this scene with those horrible customers, we could now empathize with him. Later on, while walking home, he sees a robbery and stumbles onto a cursed antique. After a brief case of mistaken identity, he uses it for the first time. Question. We see the cops roll up onto the scene, and then suddenly there's a jump cut and he's back at his apartment with the bauble. How is that possible? Wouldn't the cops have checked his person and taken the bauble off of him? Or maybe he used the bauble on the cops off screen? Well, we'll never know, I guess. Anyway, just like with Light Yagami with the Dead Note the first time, Howard decides to take the bauble for a test run. The next scene shows our intrepid trio briefly discussing about Ryan's tickets to see Angelica. They then find out about the robbery, and the bauble is in the police stolen property report. So does that mean Howard really did use it on the cops, or that they were just so incompetent they didn't even bother searching him? Officer Green, where are you when we really need you? We learned that the Bauble originally allowed the user to hypnotize people, but once it got powered up, well, we'll see in a moment what it really can do. Or not.
Fix my skin.
He told the Bauble to make him look beautiful, and all it did was clear up some pimples. A while later, he misses his chance to meet Angelica. Later in the day, he meets and has a very contentious talk with one of Angelica's label reps. When he doesn't get the information from her that would make Angelica immediately fall in love with him, he decides to take matters into his own hands. Sometime later, when Howard gets home, he starts making unrealistic demands from the Bauble.
Make me beautiful. Make me someone she'll notice. That's very unlikely.
Well, after using it, it looks like it gave him a migraine, and it also permed his hair.
Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline.
Okay, sometime later, Howard tries to meet up with Angelica again. The security guy, who looks like a bootleg Uncle Paulie from The Sopranos, doesn't look that impressed. I know he has a visitor's pass, but come on. How did no one see him there? He wasn't more than 10 feet away from them. Sometime later, when Angelica and her boyfriend/agent come back to her room, Howard does his best creeper impersonation. I'm disturbed by a couple of things in this scene. 1. How Howard is creepily looking at Angelica's strip and then make out with her agent. And 2. That her agent looks like a low-rent Matt Houston. I mean, come on, they should have gotten Lee Horsley, Matt Houston, in his run several years prior, so he was available. Meanwhile, Ryan and Mickey make their first appearance in about the last 15 minutes, and then they disappear again. Howard tracks down Angelica again, and it doesn't go well. Mickey and Ryan continue to try to track down Howard and find out that he's quit his job at the record store, and now he's held up in his apartment indulging in his obsessions. So what, is he a NEET now? Okay, so Mickey and Ryan know that the Bauble hasn't been recovered yet, and it hasn't been fenced, and the only guy that witnessed the robbery, wherever he goes, someone dies. They also know that he's obsessed with Angelica and think that he's gonna go after her. So why don't they just stake out his apartment or just tail him? Howard doesn't seem to be a criminal mastermind. I doubt that they'd have to wait that long. Howard proves my point when he visits Angelica's agent Roger and uses the Bauble on him and forces him to have the world's worst shave. Howard then uses the Bauble on himself to become Angelica's lover. Uh-oh. Mickey and Ryan arrive too late and find out that Howard's taken over Roger's role. Back at the shop, the trio discovers something interesting about the Bauble.
It fulfills all your deepest desires, only as long as you have possession.
It doesn't take long until Howard has completely made his way into Angelica's life and decides to show her his collection. She responds by getting naked. Yeah, that's how that works. He doesn't take that very well. See, he doesn't want to make love to her. He wants to be her.
I can't do this. This isn't what I want.
Don't you want me?
No. I want to be you.
No. No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No. No. No.
Okay, let's stop right there. For years, this episode was in my head, but I didn't remember most of it. The only thing I vaguely remembered was two people making love and Play-Doh. As you can see, I sort of misremembered it. Howard absorbs Angelica into himself and becomes her. I don't think this is what people mean when they say to become one in a holy union. Mickey and Ryan once again arrive too late at Howard's apartment, and you really shouldn't touch that. You don't know where that's been. From there, they go to the concert, which is where they should have gone in the first place. Anyway, shortly into the performance, Mickey is able to get the bauble back. Then this happens. For a moment, Howard resembled that guy from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. The show climaxes with a shocking finale. Oh please, as if I wasn't gonna make that joke. I have a question though. Will what happened on stage make it into the news? An audience of people just saw a tiny woman morph into a tall, lanky man and then electrocute himself for goodness sake. After rewatching this again after so many years, this doesn't seem to be a very strong episode for the series. But there were a couple positives in here. One would be the transforming effects at the climax, and the other would be the music. Considering that this is on a TV budget and makeup effects for the climax was as good as they were, that's really impressive. Also, I like the special effects during the sex merge scene. It had a gooiness that reminded me of other body horror films like Hellraiser. And like I said, the music was also good. I believe that these songs were actually released as singles as well. As for negatives, well, the sometimes ham-handed portrayals of the characters. Examples would be the two females at the store at the start of the episode and Anita at the 14-minute mark. I know the point of the scenes are, but still, why focus mostly on Howard's level of attractiveness? Focus on his controlling and obsessiveness. It's as if the show was saying women would like these negative characteristics if Howard was good looking. Another problem I have is that Vanny's character has very little agency in this episode. I'm not sure why the showrunners didn't give her more to do. In the films like Action Jackson and The Last Dragon, she played actual characters. If I had to guess, and this is pure conjecture, her appearance here might have been at the same time when she was going through some drug issues. If that's the case, then giving her less to do probably was the best option, or they could have just gotten another actress. That was also another option. Also, the way they got the bauble back. It would have been nice if the conflict was resolved by something other than just yanking a necklace off someone's neck. While the death of Howard looked good, the yank just felt underwhelming. With that all being said, I do recommend this episode. While I had some issues with how the episode played out, examples, the heroes constantly being late and not doing the most logical thing at that particular moment, as well as how Howard's arc was set up in the story, it was enjoyable. This episode had a creepy feel to it, and the makeup effects and puppet work really added to it. I wonder though, will this episode play much better today than when it came out? With the rash of what's seen as toxic fandoms, this episode is more relevant now than it was back then. Now, if you're interested in getting the series, it is available on DVD. But what is interesting though is the cover for the DVD set is a picture from the Friday the 13th movies and not the TV series. If you like this video, then please comment below, subscribe, and share it. And if you'd like to help the channel more, then you can go to my Patreon and donate $1 there. You'll get early access to the audio version and the video version of each video, as well as certain other perks. And until next time, have a good day.
Don't try to find an explanation for this, Ryan. It's too bizarre.